Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Blake Creamer, and in this podcast, we're going to be looking at 6 players who are in line for potential breakout seasons in the 2025-26 fantasy hockey season. Let's get to biz. Oh, yeah. Welcome in, everybody. This is the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I'm your host today, Blake Creamer. Please give me a follow over on X at Blake Creamer AG. Also, check us out on YouTube. Apples and Ginos is doing stuff on YouTube. We have some short form content. If people don't want to watch our 2-hour-long, blustering fantasy hockey episodes, I don't know what the hell's going on, but we do that. So we're ramping up our YouTube. So please get over there. Give us a subscribe. Thumb it up. Really appreciate that. Also, check out the Apples and Ginos Discord. Link is in the description. We're also on Instagram and TikTok doing stuff. So just search Apples and Ginos and get your biscuits over there. Do it now. I've got a very special guest with me here today. He's a writer and associate editor for Dauber Hockey. He's got a beautiful head of hair and a chiseled jawline. My God, it's Puneet Sharma. Buddy, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on, bud.
My man. Well, yeah, absolutely, buddy. Puneet's joining us. He's looking at being a potential member here at Apples and Ginos. So we're dipping our toes in the water, aren't we, Puneet?
We are. I'm excited to be part of the team. I can't wait.
What an absolute unit. We love it. All right. Puneet and I today are going to be talking about 6 players that could potentially break out in the 2025-26 fantasy hockey season. I brought 3. Puneet brought 3. It's going to be good. When we evaluate players, and Puneet, I'd love to get your take on this. I have 3 things that I look for. And I've talked about this before, things like metrics. So what do they look like under the hood? Are they able to generate their own offense? Are they a play driver or a passenger? The next thing would be deployment, right? How much time on ice are they actually getting out there? And then opportunity, things like power play deployment, line mates, those type of things. So those are the 3 things that I look at. Like when you're evaluating players, Puneet, what kind of things do you look for? Is that sort of in line?
That's pretty much in line with what I would probably look for as well. I do look for looking at the underlying metrics and also the opportunity. How you said you want to make sure that they're getting that chance in the opportunity. If their production looks good, but you're still looking at a player that's not going to get that top 6 top power play deployment, I mean, you're kind of not going to be getting much out of that player. You're just going to get the same type of production. So you always have to look for those. Yes, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it would probably benefit us before we get into these breakouts is to talk about how we define a breakout actually. And one of the things, or I'll give you a couple things that I look at when I consider a breakout. And obviously it's a player that's in line for more opportunity, like we talked about. It's also the player that has the ability to break out. So the underlying stats we talked about, and then we want to see points on the board. Right? Like, we want to see a significant increase in production from previous levels. So to me, a breakout is not a guy that's had an amazing season and then has had some down seasons and then is going to get back up there. That's a bounce back. To me, a breakout is a guy that hasn't hit that level yet. So is that sort of in line with your thinking as well, Puneet?
Yes, I think just to add to that, you can also probably throw in that like 200 game threshold, maybe even a 400 game threshold when it comes to looking at defensemen. You can also look at players that probably just have been in a bottom 6 role for the past 3, 4, 5 years who just haven't had the opportunity. And now you're starting to see that they're getting pushed up the lineup and they're getting that opportunity. To me, that's still considered a potential breakout candidate because they haven't had that opportunity, even though they've been in the league for 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I think about fantasy hockey and what we're trying to do, even with this podcast, it's about putting things on our side, right? In terms of, like the things we just talked about. And these 6 players that we're bringing to the table, they're starting to accumulate some of these things that could potentially let them sort of break out here for fantasy. So without further ado, I want to get into it. I want to get the biz on that. And I'm going to go with one of mine first here, Puneet. And this is a man close to my heart, Philip Hedl. All right. Of the Vancouver Canucks, that beautiful man. Well, that's one thing I want to do. I'm going to dig in on some of their stats and metrics. So last year, 56 games he played, only 26 points. So down season for Filipino. That's only a 38-point pace, right? And he was injured with a concussion at the end of the year. That really stunk. He was on a really bad vibe team on the Rangers. And then he went to another bad vibe team in the Vancouver Canucks. So, some of this makes sense, but his ice time was down as well. But there's so many things to like about Filipino. And one of them, the main one that I'm really interested in, he's 9th overall in entries leading to scoring chances for per 60. That's Corey Schneider's microstats. And that's huge. 9th overall in the entire league in zone entries that lead to scoring chances. That's really a big thing that to me indicates a pretty elite play driver. And he's bringing something to the table that the Canucks desperately need, and that's rush play. For God's sake. I mean, according to the microstats too, is looking in on the Canucks, Puneet, and Vancouver was 27th in the league in shots off the rush at 5-on-5. That's painful.
Wow.
That's Did you ever see that movie Zootopia? You remember that sloth at the DMV? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
Sweet. Thank you, Puneet. That's the Canucks offense off the rush. All right. That right there is a prime example of what that team was like in the offensive zone on the rush play. So yeah, really gross, but Hedl does that. And I think he can really elevate whatever line he's on. And unfortunately at this point, or up his career, he's been a really inefficient shooter, and that's obviously going to have to improve. But yeah, numbers in that metric too, entries leading to scoring chances for. This is something, Puneet, like I'm really big on now. If you listen to the pod, it's microstats, and that's one that I really like. But his numbers in that metric, they were great in New York, right? Entries that lead to scoring chances, but they went skyrocketing up when he got to Vancouver. And, it's a limited sample size. He only played 15 games here, but he was only behind Matthew Barzal in controlled entries per 60, which is insane. So he was second in the league with his time in Vancouver. Yeah. He was third in the league in entries leading to scoring chances for per 60 behind Jack Hughes and Joel Farabee for some random reason. I don't know what the hell's going on there. So, yeah. I just really like Filipino. It's going to be interesting to me, his role here in Vancouver, because they don't have any other centers here. I think he's kind of locked in for the 2C, and unless they make a trade, no one is coming for those minutes. And Patrick Alvin, Adam Foote, the new head coach there in Vancouver, they're talking about, having confidence in Filipino as that 2C. So I think that also means power play 1 for him, right? And we're looking at a guy that his highest average time on ice ever was 15 minutes, 56 seconds in 23-24. So I think he's going to smash that this year. So we're getting that deployment. He's getting that power play 1. The problem is injuries, right? He had a bad concussion at the end of the year. He has a history of concussions. He's had a lot of time off. So I don't know. Where are you at with Filipino, Puneet? Do you think that this is a guy that can improve? Obviously, I think he's going to improve on his 38-point pace, but do you think this is a guy that could truly break out and maybe beat that 45 points that he got in 2022-23?
I think he's going to get that chance. He's going to have the opportunity. Now that you've seen like a player like Pius Suter, who kind of showed that he could do the same type of production and thrive, be shipped out, and now you got Filipino being the guy who's got to take that second line center role. I think he's going to do really well. If he can focus on trying to get his shot production up. Last year, I think he hit around 133 shots on goal. If he can do that same production he did when he was in New York, around that 170, 180 shots on goal, you're going to see him kind of push up to that 45, maybe 46, 47 points, which is pretty good. I mean, you're going to add on to the fact that he might also get power play opportunity, which he never got in New York at all. That'll probably push him over to that point. I'm even saying he might even hit that 50-point mark.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, to me, I think this is a guy that has the bones of a 60-point player, but a lot of stuff is going to have to go right? He's got to stay healthy, obviously, right? And he needs power play 1 for the full season. But I mean, he could have Evander Kane on his left wing there. I like that. Evander Kane and Connor Garland maybe on that second line there. And I mean, Kane is a dog. He's good at board battles, getting the puck to a guy like Filipino. Kane is also kind of a good rush player as well. I mean, he's very north-south and he's a chucker, right? But Filipino is obviously amazing at bringing the puck into the zone and setting things up. So I like the outlook there. I should mention Filipino on the year, 34th overall in shots goal per 60. He was 34th. That's crazy, per 60, right? And then 40th overall in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. So this is a guy that can generate his own offense. And now some more deployments coming, plus power play 1. I think it's blast off time. And now watch after this episode, Puneet, the Canucks are going to go out and make a trade for a 2C, and Philip Hedl's going to get dinked down to the third line. But
down.
Yeah, I don't know. If you got Philip Hedl on your third line, I think you're loving life as well. That's not too shabby. So there you go. Philip Hedl, we salute you. We appreciate you. You're a beautiful and unique snowflake. Puneet, let's get into your first pick here and talk about Mom Spaghetti, Cole Perfetti.
Yeah, so I'm thinking Cole Perfetti's now hit his fourth. I mean, it's his fourth season, but it's not his fourth full season in the NHL. But I think he's gonna blow off this year with Nikolai Ehlers now gone and he's out of town. You're going to see a player that probably has that chance of breaking into that top power play production. Over the past 2 years, I mean, he's had that production of 38 points, 50 points thereafter. Time on ice has increased literally almost 2 minutes per year for him. His points per 60, pretty steady at 2.4. His shot production in terms of his shots on goal haven't changed over the past 2 years. He hit 143, 142 last year. This past year, he hit 140, but it's the individual shot attempts where he actually made more shot attempts throughout the course of the season from last year to this year. So he was hitting 284 this year. Last year was 232. The unblocked shot attempts also were higher from 188 to 224. So that's showing that he's more confident in his gameplay and he's willing to take chances and take shots and also getting more quality chances as well. Shooting percentage isn't the greatest. It's at 12.9, but it is pretty sustainable. I do see that increasing come this year if he gets that top power play role. And I think that's the X factor with him. If he gets that, you're looking at a player that could hit pretty high when it comes to his over power play, his overall point potential. I'm thinking somewhere around that 58 to 65 point range. It's just the second line is a little murky. Jonathan Taves is back. He hasn't played in the NHL for a good 2-3 years now, I think, and I mean, not the greatest line mate to have if he can't keep up. He even said, I think, in a presser, I think a couple of days ago, that the hands are there, but the feet aren't.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, I mean, that's not a promising thing to hear. But if they put him in a third line role and they still bump up Vlad Nemestikov, who has played with Perfetti before, that might be a better option just for even strength purposes. But the power play, I mean, you're looking at a guy who's going to be playing with Kyle Connor, Gabe Vilardi, Josh Morrissey, Scheifele, and him. He could push easily around 15 to 20 power play points. I mean, last year he hit 15 power play points as it is. I think 15 to 20 is an easy mark, including what he might be able to do on even strength at 5-on-5.
Yeah, no,
What do you think?
I like this take a lot for sure. This is a guy that's definitely offensive minded, right? He was drafted for his offense, right? And I think, yeah, he hasn't really been given that opportunity, or he's kind of been slow rolled a little bit. And you get a 50-point season last year in 82 games. That's pretty nice, right? That's nice progression of what we see here with this player. And I do think that power play 1 is real. I think that's going to be a major factor, and I don't see who is going to get power play 1 over Cole Perfetti. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think there's clearly an opportunity here. And Winnipeg last season, they had the #1 power play in terms of conversion. So now you lose Nikolai Ehlers, which, yeah, that stinks because he's an amazing play driver, but I don't think it's going to fall off a cliff. I think it'll probably still be top 3rd in the league, right? And now you got Perfetti on there. So, yeah, I think, what do you think, Puneet? Like, I'm glad you mentioned the line mates there because, yeah, Ehlers to me is, again, like I was talking about Philip Hedl, Ehlers is in that conversation as well. Obviously, he's more established. He's a better player at play driving and things like that. So we've got Cole Perfetti, who was kind of primarily a passer on that line, right? Where Ehlers is bringing it in, setting it up. Perfetti's just getting into position. I think that Perfetti's going to have to adjust his game a little bit. But I also think that he's talented. He's offensively talented enough to do that. But I'm just curious to see what that looks like. Because I like you said, he's probably going to start with Jonathan Taves or Vlad Nemestikov and Gus Nyquist, right? Which is, I don't know, it's not Ehlers, you know what I mean? But Ehlers does have his own gravity when he's on a line. So now how does that offensive load get shouldered there? I think Cole Perfetti is good enough to step up and do something there. So I don't know. I think that he's definitely a good breakout candidate to me. And, 50 points last year, again, I think 60 points is probably in the wheelhouse, especially if we can, increase that time on ice, which was only 15 minutes and 11 seconds last year. I don't know. What do you think?
I think the same. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the caveat to all of this, I mean, I'm pretty certain and I'm very confident that I think he'll get that top power play production. It's just that second line deployment on who's going to be playing with him, because you got a guy like potentially Jonathan Taves and Gustav Nyquist. I mean, he's going to be the guy who's going to have to drive the play,
Yeah.
because I think he's going to be the fastest one on the ice, to be quite honest with you, unless they bring up a guy like Alex Iafallo to play along with him, which he did play. He played some time with him on the second line last year, but I don't see that happening if they brought in those two type of players. I think they need that overall depth as a team, and bringing in someone like Jonathan Taves and Gustav Nyquist, and only to put them in the third and fourth line role just doesn't make sense. So I think he's going to have to kind of pick things up for the sake of the line and for the sake of his own production.
Yep. And I mean, Winnipeg was a pretty efficient team last year, 7th overall in the league in finishing, right? In conversion at 5-on-5. So, does that take a hit? Maybe, right? But I do believe in this player, Cole Perfetti. I think it's his time. And I think I really like this guy as a breakout candidate. And he's going to be available way late in drafts, like way late. You know what I mean? You might be able to get him with like the last couple picks. And this is a guy that's going to be on top power play, pretty much guaranteed. So very good take there. I like that. Let's move on to Anaheim and talk about a player I'm pretty high on and excited about going into this year, Jackson Lacombe. This guy's an absolute unit, and we love this. Big season last year, 14 goals, 29 assists for 43 points in 75 games with the Ducks. What? I mean, the Ducks are terrible. They were terrible last year, but this guy didn't care. He didn't give a damn. He went out there and just had an amazing season in one of the worst environments for fantasy out there, really. So, and he did it without power play one time. This guy only got 9 power play points last year, 46% power play share. So, yeah, I mean, I love what I see here. I want to dig in a little bit on Jackson Lacombe because there's so many things that I like about him as well. First off, his IPP at 5-on-5 was pretty high last season, and he was 7th best among D-men at 5-on-5 that played 700 minutes or more. So 7th best. Jackson Lacombe, he did that. So, I mean, he's pretty damn good. But, I think the IPP is going to come down because I think it was so high because he was the only guy that could do it. Right. The team was not good and they weren't well coached. Right. I think that's pretty well chronicled with Greg Cronin. I mean, they had a chance to get Joel Quenneville and they're like, Cronin, get the hell out of my sight. No, we got Quenneville over here. And they kicked him to the curb. But I feel like the IPP was high because he was driving everything from the back end. Anaheim, actually, I don't know if you know this, Puneet, but they led the league in percentage of offense coming from the defensive zone. They led the league. Anaheim led the league in something. That's crazy. You got Lacombe, you got Zellweger, you got Pavel Mintyukov, the fresh maker, Cam Fowler when he was there. That's where all their offense was being, driven from. The forwards really weren't getting to biz. They couldn't do anything in transition. And they had a terrible power play, terrible special teams too. So I think now that they have Joel Quenneville in here, he's the second winningest coach in the league. So they got a very good coach in here. I think it's safe to say Anaheim's not going to be worse next year. Right. They got new additions, Chris Kreider, Granny, Mikael Granlund. And I think you got another season of Leo Carlson improvement, Cutter Gauthier, who we're pretty excited about here. And another player we might talk about in a little bit. Right. But with Lacombe, I think power play 1 is in the wheelhouse here as well. It's not guaranteed. Right. You got another great offensive defenseman in Anaheim, Olen Zellweger. So we have to see what happens there. But I do think that Jackson Lacombe is primed for an increase in production, but his ceiling might be capped a little bit if he doesn't get that power play 1. So I'm calling maybe a 50 to 55 point season for Jackson Lacombe. And where is he getting drafted? Like who's going out there and they're like, I got to get me some Jackson Lacombe. Nobody. Okay. Well, maybe players in pretty sharp leagues, but to me, I think Lacombe is going to be one of these defensemen where if you miss out a little bit early in your draft, you could still score on a guy like this. And I think that even without power play 1, Jackson Lacombe is a 45-point defenseman with potential double-digit goals, similar to what he did last year. So, yeah, is he going to be Quenneville's guy? Maybe. I really do believe that. I mean, what are your thoughts on Jackson Lacombe, Puneet? And is this a guy that's on your radar?
He is. I actually picked him up off the waiver wire in one of my leagues
Yeah, me
last
too.
year, and I've held on to him. So, I mean, I'm kind of hoping that I'm glad you put him on the list because that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I own a few shares of him of myself, so I am cautiously optimistic about him because I think what you said about Olin Zellweger is the caveat to all of that. Having Jackson Lacombe produce what he's produced with what he had last year was phenomenal. And I think if he gets that power play ice time with a stronger Anaheim Ducks team this year, the production will show. But I'm afraid they might use him as the backbone to the defensive core and give Olin Zellweger that sheltered power play ice time.
Yep.
And then we'll still see the good production out of Jackson Lacombe, what we've already seen. It's just, will we see more of it? Only time will tell. But I mean, I don't foresee that happening just yet unless he's not able to produce or the team is starting to falter straight out of the gates. Then you might see a shakeup.
Yeah, something I love about Jackson Lacombe, and I'll show you. Head on over to YouTube here, folks, because I've got a couple slides here where I just wanted to show you their microstat cards and just show you what we're dealing with here. I've got Jackson Lacombe and Owen Zellweger, which I'll be showing here, but this is a microstat card that I look at. It's from advancedhockeystats.com. So they use Corey Schneider's microstats, some other stuff there. But I mean, if you're looking at the screen here, blue is good. Okay, this guy dominates in every aspect of the game. So offensively, like he's 97th percentile in goals scored, things like primary assists, chance assists, shot assists. He's in the 85th to 90th percentile. That's huge, right? But then when you look over here, you can see like these numbers here: entry denial rate, possession entry prevention, and entry chance prevention. That basically describes how well he is playing defensively. And this is on Anaheim, right? One of the worst, if not the worst defensive team in the league. And he's putting up these amazing numbers where, he's really making a difference offensively and defensively. And then meanwhile, you take a look at Owen Zellweger here. This is more in line to me with what a player from Anaheim last season should look like. Right. I mean, Owen Zellweger, obviously, we've got amazing offensive metrics here. He's getting a lot of chances and a lot of shots for himself. He's entering the zone with major efficiency. But when you look at what he's able to do defensively, terrible, right? Like he's in the 3rd percentile of entry denial rate, entry chance prevention. He's in the 3rd percentile, where Jackson Lacombe was in like the 90th percentile. So I just wanted to show that just as a point of interest for me, that Jackson Lacombe did what he did last season against all odds, right? Like this was a terrible defensive team. Owen Zellweger, I'm not, crapping on him. He's going to be a great player. He's very offensive and very well could take power play 1. But I think Jackson Lacombe is a guy that the coaches are going to have no problem putting out there for big time minutes. I could see him being one of the league leaders in minutes, to be honest with you, from the back end. So that's my thought there. Why don't we talk about another player from these Ducks here, Puneet, and give us your second pick here.
Well, I'm piggybacking off of your Anaheim Ducks here, and I'm going to go with Mason McTavish. I think it's the perfect storm when it comes to what Anaheim is doing. What they've done in the offseason and what they have been doing in terms of their draft picks, and what Mason McTavish has been able to do over the past couple of years. He's been progressively getting better with 43 points, 42 points, and 50 points, 52 points over the past 2 games. His time on ice has increased literally over a minute per game. His shots on goal per 60 has increased at 2.4. Previously, it was 2. I mean, 30. He went on a tear at the second half
Yeah.
of the season. From January and on, the last 40 games, he put up 35 points, right? 16 goals, 19 assists. He's starting to heat up, and I think he's starting to get more comfortable. Also, knowing the fact that Trevor Zegras has now been shipped out, and they're basically giving him hey, we are depending on you to be our second line center right behind Leo Carlson, is, I think, a big deal. It gives him the ability to show that he can do what he needs to do at 5-on-5 and on power play as well. Just to put it in a perspective in terms of his power play numbers, last year he only put up 12 power play points. Now you're going to have a team with, like you said, Cutter Gauthier, Chris Kreider. You're going to have Mikael Granlund, potentially Jackson Lacombe, and now Mason McTavish on the top power play. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy hits close to 18 to 22 power play points. That alone would basically give him his breakout numbers, right? He had 52 points last year. Tack on another 10 to 12 just power play points alone. I mean, this guy's probably poised to hit somewhere around 65 to 70 points, I'm saying. I would say roughly around there. And he's only 21 years old. It's the classic 3-year breakout window. I mean, what more do you need? He's probably and likely stashed and taken in probably most of uh, your dynasty leagues. But if you're doing any redraft league or a keeper league, you probably should have picked him up before the season ended or made a draft for him. If not, I mean, that chance for you to grab him is closing pretty fast. And because of the changes on the team that they made, I mean, chances are you're going to have to make a trade in order to acquire this guy.
Yep, for sure. I mean, one of the things I've neglected to mention about Anaheim, you know, when I was talking about Jackson Lacombe, it's like there's going to be some variance, right? We got a new coach in here. We don't know what they're going to do. Like, I agree with everything he said. I can't disagree with anything there. But we don't know what Joel Quenneville's going to do. Is Mason McTavish going to be in the top 6? Like, he should, of course. They got Ryan Strome as well. Like, he was prioritized last season at points. You know, I do think Mason McTavish will be in the top 6. Will he get power play 1? He should. He absolutely should. But will he? Right? We don't know until we kind of see the way that Joel Quenneville is going to be running lines. But yeah, I think that power play in particular in Anaheim is going to be something to watch. How do you see that lining up there, Puneet? Do you like who do you think is going to be on that top unit? And do you think that Joel Quenneville is going to run a true power play 1?
So I'm kind of like, I like Leo Carlson, and I think he's going to be that future number 1 center on his team. But I'm not entirely convinced as to why they have him playing that first line center role. I think he should be the one that gets bumped down, to be quite honest, to get those sheltered minutes and have that first line with Mason McTavish, who's kind of been around longer, to take on the tougher matchups. But as it stands right now, it looks as if it's what that top line is with Leo Carlson. You're going to have um, Cutter Gauthier on the left side, and then I think on the right side they had last year as his primary line mate. I believe it was Alex Killorn. I mean, that in itself, I don't understand that as well. But the second line looks like the stronger line to me if you're looking at it from just a pure production standpoint. Chris Kreider on the left hand side. If Mason McTavish takes that second line role, he's going to be with Kreider and probably Mikael Granlund. That's a pretty solid role. Chris Kreider's, I mean, it came out at the end of the year. Chris Kreider was hurt. That's why his production was low.
Yep.
So if he's back and healthy, I totally understand it's not New York and it's not Artemi Panarin. You're not playing with that caliber of players, but it's still a pretty decent and up and coming team where I'd be surprised if Mason McTavish isn't going to, like, okay, fine. If he doesn't hit that 70-point mark, 65, I think, is a realistic number, provided Joel Quenneville decides to go that route. He might go with the whole veteran route and throw up Ryan Strome, Frank Vetrano, and Troy Terry up on the first line and totally blow things up. And I mean, then we're all shit out of luck. But I'm hoping that's not the case.
Yeah, man. I like all of that. It's going to be interesting to see for sure. But I do like the fit with Mason McTavish and Chris Kreider. I think if those two play together, like, you know, digging in on Mason McTavish a little bit, this guy is a great facilitator. He's really good at high danger passes, and you know who's good at finishing high danger passes? Chris Kreider. All right, he does that. Obviously, you know, he's with Mika Zibanejad for a long time. I think there's some similarities there. I think Mason McTavish can be a really great facilitator, obviously bringing the puck out of the zone and then finding Chris Kreider for kind of these 1-Ts or some easy tap-ins, right, which is kind of Kreider's bread and butter. I do think Kreider's in for a big-time bounce back as well because, yeah, he was injured all season, and the vibes were so bad in New York, right, with Chris Drury, you know, tooting in everyone's faces, and it was just not a great time. So I do like Chris Kreider for a bounce back. He's still a great skater, Chris Kreider, and I think if Mason McTavish and Kreider stick together this year, I like the outlook for Mason McTavish. So there you go. I really like that. Let's move on to our next player here. It's Owen. Just the tip it just for a second. We got it. I don't. That's terrible. We'll edit that out later, Puneet. Don't worry about this. I want to talk about Owen Tippett. This is a guy that's basically a perennial breakout player every single year. We're like, this is the year. It's Owen Tippett's time. He's going to pop off. But I do think it's Owen Tippett's time. He's going to pop off. All right. I mean, this isn't a guarantee, folks, but I like what Owen Tippett's bringing to the table, and let me tell you why. All right. So last season, 43 points in 77 games. Definitely a down year for Owen Tippett, right? I mean, he had 53 points the year previous, and the trajectory was looking good, but he ran into a buzzsaw and ultimate dingus, John Tortorella. Okay. Torts had his thumb on Tippett pretty much the entire time he was there, right? Time on ice actually went down this past season. Shots on goal went down. Owen Tippett didn't get one power play goal. 0 power play goals on the year. What? That's insane. I don't understand. But, it's not a great showing for Tippett, but I think that Tortorella was kind of a big factor there. One of the things I love about Owen Tippett, he's still a player that excels in rushing the puck and creating offense individually and for his line mates. Like digging in on some of his stats here, on the year, 44th overall in shots and goal per 60. Last year, he was top 10. The season previous to this last one, he was top 10. He was 44th this last year. So shots went down, but they're still pretty good. He was 13th overall in chucking pucks per 60. So individual Corsi per 60. So he does that. Like I said, he's the ultimate chucker. He's massively inefficient, which is going to be a problem for fantasy. I think it's really what keeps Owen Tippett's ceiling down, is right. He can't put the biscuit in the basket, unfortunately. But he hasn't been given the opportunity to really succeed, in my opinion, under John Tortorella. So, where I talked about entries that lead to scoring chances for with Filipino, well, Owen Tippett does that as well. He's 12th in the league in that metric. Right. So he's bringing the puck in, he's setting up chances for himself or for his line mates. And that's a great indicator of a guy that's doing stuff out there. Like, obviously he's inefficient and that's why he's not popping off, but it's not for lack of good chances and for, trying. Right. He just has a problem with puck management, and Torts hated that, right? Like, that's certainly he's worse than some of the other players that are great rushers. But I mean, you drive in with speed, you bring the puck in, and you give it up, and it's driven right back down your throat, often for a good scoring chance against, right? So I mean, I can understand why Torts was like, okay, get the hell off the ice, right? We need a bit of stability here, but that's just. If you have Owen Tippett, that's not it, my guy. You got to get this guy out there. So I do think that a bounce back is almost assured for Owen Tippett, right? 43 points last year. I think at the very least he gets back up to 53 points, but I think he can truly break out with Rick Tocchet there now in Philly. Like, Tocchet is stable. Tocchet is a player's coach, and I know him pretty well. Like, personally, we're good friends. All right, he's a big listener to the show. I wish he was. All right. I got Tocchet on speed dial over here, Puneet. That's how we do. I kind of ticked at him actually right now for leaving the team. But anyways, I do think that Owen Tippett's going to benefit. The whole team, the vibe is going to benefit from Tocchet here. I think that power play 1 is necessary for Owen Tippett to truly break out here. And I think that it's possible, right? Daily Faceoff has Bobby Brink on power play 1. No. Get the hell out of my sight, Bobby Brink. Back up the Brink truck, back to PP2. All right, we got Owen Tippett over here. So I think he needs PP1. Obviously, power play points, career high 12 for Owen Tippett. He's got to smash that. This is a guy that could get 20. Okay, so but he needs power play 1, obviously. Who does he play with at even strength? Like, can he get with Trevor Zegras and Matvei Michkov? Would they do that? Just an all offense, no defense line in Philly? Like, that would be pretty nice. That's a pure scoring line. That's maybe a pipe dream. I think it's probably more likely he plays with Dvorak or Noah Cates, and then we'll see who the wingers are. But anyways, I'm digressing here. I just think that I'd love to see him play with Zegras at the very least. I think if they can develop some chemistry, we could see a career high from Owen Tippett. Talk to me about this chucker. Talk to me about Owen Tippett. Is this a guy that you're interested in or have had previously in fantasy leagues?
I actually tried to trade for him last year, and I actually tried to draft for him last year, early in the season, and I just didn't get him. He didn't fall. He didn't fall as far as I would have liked him to in order for me to draft him. Some people kind of drafted him a lot earlier than expected. I like him. I think his numbers just they look deflated. He just hasn't had that opportunity because of John Tortorella. If you're looking at just his sheer numbers from 22-23, he put up 231 shots.
Yeah.
The following year, he put up 289. Like, that's insane. And then he dropped down to 188. If he even increases that up by like 40, 50 shots, you're going to see a totally different player. I'm not entirely convinced he'll hit that power play one though. Like you have Bobby Brink, I don't think will be that top, have the opportunity to be a mainstay on that top power play unit. But what do you think about a player like Tyson Forster? Do you think
Mhm.
he's the guy that might be one that actually steps in the way of Owen Tippett to actually have a chance to play on that top unit? What do you
Yeah,
think about
yeah,
that?
I think that's a very realistic possibility, right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
Forrester, it's Bobby Brink. Like they're both,
yeah,
yeah, those are both guys that are potentially standing in the way. Even Sean Couturier, do they want two centers out there? Like, does Zegras even
yeah,
get top power play? Like, it's this is kind of like the Anaheim situation. We got a new coach in here. We don't know exactly what they're going to do. So I'm hoping, and I think it makes sense to me to get a chucker like Owen Tippett there out on the ice with some of these playmakers, guys like Trevor Zegras, Travis Konechny, and I think Matvei Michkov. Obviously, we saw what Matvei Michkov could do. He played with Tippett a little bit towards the end of the year. He's going to get the reins let loose here with Tocchet. I mean, I don't think it's going to be crazy. I don't think they're going to be like
yeah.
20-minute Matvei Michkov, but I think he's going to get a lot more leash here, and that's just going to equal more offensive production for this team. So, yeah, rising tide floats all boats. I hope that Owen Tippett gets top power play, but you're right. There's a couple players in the way, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, I like him. I think he'll have an opportunity. If he gets that, just based on his sheer shot volume, I think he's still worth an ad because of the fact that he gives you over 100 hits, over 100 shots every game. I mean, in categories leagues, he's always a good option.
He's a beefer. He does that. He beefs out of control. This man's a freight train. Get the hell out of the way. Oh, and Tippett's coming. All right. And he's a ginger as well. So I got a lot of love for that man. All
There
right.
you go.
He
There you
has
go.
no soul, but that's fine. I'm half ginger myself, so I can relate to his struggles. All right, let's move on. But shout out to Owen Tippett. I do think, actually, before we move on, Owen Tippett, again, I think 60 points is there. I absolutely think 60 points is there, but we have to see power play one for sure for that to happen, or at the very least, like his shots coming back up to previous levels, and even just a minor increase in efficiency. That would really
Yep.
help out. That would help us out, Owen Tippett, because I think 30 goals is probably in the wheelhouse there as well. So we'll see what happens. Again, another team to watch, the Philadelphia Flyers. We got to see how they're deploying their players. Puneet, take us home. We got our last player here, and he's a stud, Quentin Byfield.
Yes. So I mean, look, LA's been patient with Quinton Byfield, and so have we as fantasy managers. So I'm hoping this year's the breakout because it's been 3 years since I've been saying this guy's going to break out, and it's been painful every year to watch him not. But I'm going to stick with it. And look, last year was a totally different scenario from the year prior, right? He was playing 2 years ago. He was playing alongside the top line. He was playing with Anze Kopitar on the wing.
Mhm.
Last year, they decided, hey, let's throw him right into it and make him a center and put him put him in a position where he's kind of sitting either in a second or sometimes even third line role, playing
Mhm.
with guys like Warren Fogle, Adrian Kempe. I mean, he's good, but you had Warren Fogle, Alexis Lafreniere, and Tanner Jeannot at points where he was playing with. So he was the one having to drive all of the play, and he had to drive the line. He had to push it all the way
Mhm.
across. And let's not forget, big guys of his stature who play center usually take 3 to 4 years to be productive. I mean, productive to the point where we expect him to play that certain way. 6'5", 220 pounds. It takes some time, right? For the first season he hit into the NHL, he posted around 10 points, then 22, went up to the 55-point mark where we thought, okay, this is his breakout year. Come next year, he's going to hit that 70-point mark. I mean, last year he didn't. He put up the same point production, but his time on ice increased by nearly 2 minutes. But his power play time on ice was
Mhm.
exactly the same. It stayed the same at, I believe, roughly around 1 minute and 58 seconds. His power play usage needs to be a little bit higher. 47% is decent, but not for a player of his type of caliber and talent. I think he needs to be playing a little bit more when it comes to the power play ice time, closer to that 60, 56 to 60 point range. keys to watching him break out, you have to look at his shot volume. If he can hit that consistent over 2 shots per game, closer to that 2.5 to 3 shots per game, you'll see that offensive jump. His IPP at 60% is pretty good, which means he's basically involved in 60% of the goals when he's on the ice. But that could kind of go a little bit higher. His secondary assist rate was also a lot higher than it was typically at 60%. So that power play ice time is what's key for him. If he gets more time on ice on the power play, that secondary assist rate isn't going to be as bad as 60%. I'm thinking he's going to hit somewhere close to around baseline 25 to 30 goals. He's gotten 20 goals for the past 2 seasons, 20 and 23. I think this year he'll hit closer to that 25 to 30 and a 65 point output. If you're looking at a true breakout and he kind of everything clicks, I mean, closer to 70, but I'm not going to go that far and say he's going to hit that yet.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the player. That's for sure. Certainly in reality, I think this guy is such a stud. Like, there's a reason why the Kings are so good. Like this guy's, he's on their second line for God's sake. He's amazing at kind of zone exits, like bringing the puck out of the zone, supporting the defense, and LA is just so good defensively. And this guy's part of the reason, right? He's really great at that. But I do agree with you that I think it's time, right? These guys need to marinate a little bit. This guy's 6'5", 220. Okay, it takes a little while to sort of get going. I mean, we've seen flashes of insane offensive skill from Byfield as well. Like I can think of at least 2 like just goal of the year highlights that he had just last season. I mean, this guy's unbelievable. So, one of the things I'm not sure the goals are coming unless he sort of changes his style a little bit, right? I feel like 25 goals is probably where he lands next year if he doesn't start to shoot more for some reason. And I don't have any reason to think that he will shoot more, but I do think that the assists are going to go up. I think he's more of a facilitator. And I think there's this like 65 points. I could see him hitting 65 points fairly easily next season, as long as he gets power play 1. He needs power play 1. And again, that's going to be interesting, right? Like I'm looking over Daily Faceoff and they've got a 5-forward power play set here with Kuzmenko, Kopitar, Byfield, Kempe, and Fiala. So do they do that? I mean, I doubt it. I don't think so, actually. I think at the very least, you're getting Drew Doughty out there, but maybe it's Brandt Clark. They're giving him power play 1 this season. We're going to have to wait and see. But I would be surprised if LA goes with a 5-forward power play to start the year. And if they don't, who's coming off, right? They just signed Big Kuzi. And he's, you sign Kuzmenko, you're putting him on power play 1. They had him on power play 1 last year. He did well. I don't know who they're taking off that power play, right? Besides Byfield. I think he's probably the first one to go. So I think there is a world in where Byfield slinks down to power play 2 and still is a big part of the team, killing penalties, just being a beast out there. But again, I really think that he needs power play 1 to pop for fantasy. It's almost that simple, isn't it, Puneet? Like every single guy we've talked about here, it's like, I think they're going to get power play 1, breakout. And it's like, yeah, you kind of need that because you're throwing like another 8 to 10 points to even more if they really pop on top of what their production already is. So I don't know. What's the over under? What do you think? Do you really think Byfield's going to get power play 1 next year? What do you think?
I'm more convinced that it like a player like, I mean, that's in looking at what the first power play might look like. Yes, I think Byfield is probably that odd man out. I don't see them putting Fiala and Kempe on the second power play. That doesn't make any sense. And yeah, Kuzmenko actually did pretty good. He's almost like a potential. You could put him as a potential breakout candidate as well for come next year. But you might be right. Byfield might be that odd man out, and they kind of put him in that sheltered second power play role and give Brandt Clark that opportunity because Gavrikov is gone now. So they're kind of telling Brandt Clark as well, hey, you gotta step up, right? I mean, Cody Ceci ain't gonna do it all for you, so you're gonna have to make sure you kind of step up.
I like Brandt Clark. I like offensively, he's amazing, right? I would love to see them put him on power play 1. I'm not sure it's going to happen though. I mean, I think Doughty's still good to go, so I think it's probably going to be Doughty on power play 1, and either Byfield or Big Kuzi bounced off power play 1 to power play 2, and we'll see. I think you get more value from Byfield on power play 2 than you do with Kuzmenko on power play 2, right? Kuzmenko on power play 2 is a ghost. Byfield on power play 2, he's doing stuff out there. Like this guy's he's on the rise, whereas Kuzmenko's kind of, he is what he is at this point, right? But I think Byfield,
he's a little fickle too, right? If things don't go his way, I mean, Kuzmenko kind of shuts down as a player, right? Whereas Byfield's not that type of a player, right? He's a play driver. So, I mean, I can see that happening as well. I don't want it to, but I mean, we'll see what happens.
Big Kuzi, though. Best head of hair in the league. You agree with me on this, Puneet, or what?
He does. He's
unbelievable. He has one of those old school brushes, like with the really ornate metal, and he's just constantly just quaffing. You know what I'm saying? Is that a word, quaff? I don't know. I'll Google that later. Buddy, that's it for the episode. I feel good about this. I feel like, we got some good breakout candidates here for you guys that I'm definitely going to be in on in the upcoming season. Obviously, it's still early, right? We need to see how things shake out, and certainly we'll be hitting up a ton of content here for you all when it's training camp and we can see what these lines are that are running here. But that's it for the show. Puneet, I want to give you an opportunity just to let our listeners know where they can find you on the socials and kind of what you're working on these days.
You can find me on Twitter or X. My Twitter handle is punter, PUNTERS_hockey. That's where you can find me usually on socials. When it comes to work, I do the top 10s every Monday for Dauber Hockey, and I also do the Journey articles covering prospects. That comes out Saturday mornings. And also check out Dauber Prospects. I'm an associate editor there and helping drive that as well. Appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, buddy, it was really fun to have you on, and thanks so much for making time, and I'm sure we'll do it again here. But that's it, folks. Thank you so much for checking us out. That's all we've got. So hopefully it brought you some fantasy value, all right, and helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats that you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, All Three Zones, and AdvancedHockeyStats.com. Many thanks to the band there for supplying the music for the podcast, and be sure to check out their Spotify as well. That's it, folks. Celebrate your day. Bye for now.